Okay, let's unpack this deep dive into one of Margaret Atwood's most compelling works.
We're talking about the 1996 Giller Prize winner, Alias Grace.
Exactly. And it takes this very specific, very dark historical event
The 1843 double murder in what was then Canada West.
and just turns it into this incredible meditation on truth and identity.
And it is rooted in a real story. The victims were a wealthy Scottish farmer, Thomas Kinnear, and his housekeeper, who was also his mistress, Nancy Montgomery.
Right, and the crime really gripped the public, mostly because the two people convicted were their own young servants.
James McDermott, who was hanged,
Yeah.
and Grace Marks. She was sentenced to life, but was, well, eventually pardoned.
And that's where Atwood's story kicks off. She creates this fictional psychiatrist, an alienist as they were called,
Dr. Simon Jordan.
and he's hired by this committee that's trying to get Grace freed.
Yeah, his job is basically to square the circle. How can this quiet, mild-mannered woman he's interviewing be a convicted murderer? He's looking for a simple diagnosis.
What's so interesting, though, is Atwood's own starting point for all this.
Oh, for sure. She first found the story in Susanna Moody's life in the clearings.
But then, through her own research, she found out Moody had basically fabricated huge chunks of her account.
It was third hand and totally unreliable, which, I mean, that discovery becomes the entire foundation for the novel's main argument.
That history itself can be a kind of fiction, especially the history of people without power.
Exactly. And you see that play out in the interviews between Grace and Dr. Jordan.
Absolutely. She tells him about her life, the poverty in Ireland, her mother dying on the ship over, her abusive father.
And Jordan is just so impatient with all of it. He sees her trauma as, just irrelevant noise getting in the way of the facts.
He has this massive scientific bias. He can't see the systemic issues, the vulnerability of someone in her position.
And that vulnerability is just laid bare in the story of her friend, Mary Whitney.
Ah, Mary, right? She was the one who taught Grace how to be a servant.
And then she dies from a botched abortion after becoming pregnant by the son of the family she worked for.
It's just a brutal look at the social hypocrisy of the time. And Mary's fate becomes so important later.
It really does. But the way they try to get to the truth also says a lot about the era.
You mean the science of it all?
Yeah, alienism was this new emerging field. But at the same time, the paranormal was huge.
Right. Things like mesmerism, hypnotism, spiritualism. They were all considered, well, legitimate methods of inquiry.
Which is exactly why the committee insists on bringing in a spiritualist, a Dr. DuPont.
But here's the twist.
He's not Dr. DuPont at all. He's actually Jeremiah Pontelli, a peddler Grace knew from her past, just in disguise.
So DuPont, or Jeremiah, puts Grace into this hypnotic trance, and suddenly another voice emerges.
Not Grace's voice.
No, it claims to be the voice of her dead friend, Mary Whitney.
And this voice, Mary, says she possessed Grace's body on the day of the murders.
And that she was the one who drove McDermott to kill Kinnear and Montgomery, the ultimate alias.
It's such a clever device. Atwood is using this Southern Ontario Gothic style, that dark, isolated, almost supernatural feel, to heighten all this psychological drama.
And the structure of the book itself reinforces that. The section titles are all names of quilt patterns.
Labyrinth, double wedding ring.
Yeah. It's a powerful metaphor. It links this domestic art, something women did, to the way we piece together history and memory. It's patchwork.
It's also worth noting the timing. The book came out when multiple personality disorder was like at the absolute peak of public interest.
That's a great point. So she's tapping into that, but she's also critiquing it.
Right. She questions how reliable a trance state really is, how much of what comes out is truth, and how much is just shaped by what the person or the doctor wants to hear.
In the end, Atwood herself said the real historical Grace Marks is an enigma. We just don't know. Dr. Jordan, the man of science, he can't figure it out and basically just runs away.
He does. So if science fails, and the supernatural route also fails to give a clear answer, what does that tell us?
It suggests we might never be able to fully know the history of marginalized people. The servants, the immigrants, the convicted, their stories are just lost or rewritten.
Grace did eventually get her freedom. She
Yeah.
was pardoned, she moved to the United States, changed her name, she found a way out.
So the question we can leave you with is this. In a world that was so determined to define her, was Grace's greatest act of survival simply creating an alias she could finally hide behind for good?